What's the worst thing you've ever done?
And welcome to the Mind Your Movies podcast. I'm Ryan,
I'm Shane.
and today we're revealing the worst things we've ever done live on.
No,
Why not?
thankfully we're not. If we learned one lesson from this movie, shut up when that happens.
Today we are talking about the drama, the new movie starring Zendaya and Robert Pattinson as a couple, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, and there's drama.
And there's a lot of drama. I would say
There's
that might be the point of the movie.
yeah, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of comedy.
A lot of
There's
comedy.
a lot of dark comedy. And yeah, this is kind of the new A24 movie, and I'm excited to talk about it. I have no idea what you thought about it really at all. So it'll be a fun discussion. We're gonna start with some non-spoiler discussion. Obviously, this movie's been marketed in some sort of a mysterious kind of a way. No one really knows the even kind of the basic premise. There is some drama that goes on, but no, they don't. I feel like they didn't really reveal any of the details. So we'll talk around that. We'll just talk about the movie in general, and then we'll do a spoiler section in the second half of the pod.
Yeah. And it's interesting this movie, well actually it's just interesting. I'm glad that I've been refraining from posting my reviews until the episodes go live. But if anyone wants to, you can always follow us on Letterboxd and see our thoughts on other stuff beforehand, or when the episode goes live, you can see an intro to my thoughts before you watch the episode or something. Shane, you usually review it a little bit earlier.
Oh, I just throw it on
Yeah,
there
you just
right
throw it
when I
on right when you
watch it.
watch
I
it.
just log it, and that's
Yeah,
all right. I don't do.
it
Sometimes I'll
works.
review, sometimes I'll just log it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just go to Letterboxd, Mind Your Movies, all one word, you can find the podcast account, and then both of our accounts are linked in the bio there. So yeah, you can follow us there and look at our reviews and all that stuff.
But it's funny. It makes me feel like I have a little bit of there's some secrecy here. I'm like, I
Yeah,
I
I have
I
no
could just be
idea. I'm
like 0 stars right
Yeah, you
now.
could have hated it, could have loved it. I have no idea.
Yeah, and this one I think is a little less obvious. Just a few weeks ago we covered Project Hail Mary, which I feel like you probably knew I was gonna like that movie.
Yeah, that was like it was almost made in a lab for you.
Yeah, it's a very
So
Ryan coded movie, but this one, I mean, I would say it's not usually my genre.
yeah,
But there's some stuff going on. So, anyways, I guess we should jump into the movie.
yeah. What'd you think?
I think I liked it. It was
Okay,
okay. It was good. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't
gotcha.
think it's mid. I think it's probably better than mid.
Hmm.
But I wasn't as blown away as I maybe thought I might have been.
Yeah, I kind of felt similarly. I really liked aspects of the movie. There were parts that were very funny, and but there were also aspects that didn't work as not that they didn't work as well for me, but I don't know. We can get into more details later
Yeah.
on, but overall, it was very enjoyable. But it didn't quite hit as well. I really loved Christopher Borgly's last two movies, Sick of Myself and Dream Scenario. I thought were like fantastic. So this one did feel like a little bit of a step down to me. Um, but overall, it was. I think my expectations were quite high. This was on my top five most anticipated of this summer. So, you know, I had pretty high expectations for it. So I think I may have been slightly disappointed, but still enjoyed the movie overall.
Yeah. I would say, I think again, yeah, I feel pretty similar. I think it's a cool premise. Like the premise here is just that the two of them are getting married. And so it's Robin Pattinson and Zendaya. They're getting married, and and something gets revealed, kind of
In like a
pretty.
drinking game with friends.
Yeah, right. And then what does that? How does that affect the like build up to the wedding and stuff like that? And that's kind of what I thought going into it. So I also knew it was set in Boston, and that's kind of I live here in Boston, so I was like, hey, I noticed the tate that they eat it at the very beginning, and I was like, I've sat right there.
There you
Uh,
go. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting like Boston movie in that it's not at all like something like The Town or Good Will Hunting or like where it's all Bostonians with the Boston accent. And this is they're both like transplants from other part. Well, Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson is British and Zendaya's traveled around as a kid and so
Yeah.
I think from Louisiana at some point. But they both live in I don't know, nicer parts of Boston, very highly educated, the sort of the coastal elite element of Boston, of the like highly educated, uh upper middle class, like urban, you know, uh professional people, if that makes sense. Like professional upper middle class.
Yeah, and you can tell in like, at points you see the inside of their apartment and you see like,
Yeah. Which is
also just
incredible.
yeah, it's insane. And also like the venue that they have for their wedding and things like that. Like there are
Yeah.
things where like you're like, hey, um, maybe I can have that, But then you're like, actually, I live in Boston, so I can't because
Yeah, it's crazy expensive. Yeah, and it's I think Robert Pattinson is like works at I mean there's a fictional Cambridge Art Museum that he works at and he seems like he's some sort of a he works in an office there. It's not really explicit like what he does. And I don't know what Zendaya does for work. She also works in an office.
yeah,
But yeah, they don't really get into any of that. It's really just more about the interpersonal stuff. But this is sort of like the very like highly educated. It could almost be any city. Like it kind
yeah.
of felt like New York for a lot of the movie to me. Like you could kind of you could place it in like Seattle or Los Angeles or something. And I feel like it wouldn't necessarily change that much.
Yeah, I feel like actually even like I knew it was set in Boston going in, and other than like the references to the Cambridge Art Museum, which, you know, like if it was a real museum, that'd be interesting. But and then also the Tate at the very beginning, it's like, yeah, I don't it's not like I really recognize any like I don't recognize the inside of a brownstone off the top of my head where they live, right? Like it doesn't really feel very like you were saying, it doesn't really feel very Bostonian. So I don't know, but it is cool. I mean, to have I know somebody who I had just met this past week, actually this weekend, um was telling me that they actually saw Robert Pattinson outside their like office building when the filming for this was happening. So that's kind of cool. But
That is cool. Yeah, that's cool. Uh, is Tate like some coffee? Is it a chain? Is it a what is it?
yeah, it's kind of like uh
It's like a Starbucks type
Panera,
thing.
yeah, Starbucks Panera type thing. But
I don't like the name. I'm gonna be honest. I've
yeah,
never
it's
heard of it.
kind of
I've
weird.
never heard of Tate, and
Yeah,
I don't like it.
it's I'm gonna be honest, it's a little I'm gonna get flack for this, but it's kind of like the pretentious version of Starbucks, which is
Mm,
already kind of the pretentious version of something else, But
it's like the
like,
pretentious version of Dunkin' Donuts.
yeah, like
So
be a
we're
real
up on the
Bostonian and go to Dunkin', get some
yeah,
dunks on the way. But
yeah.
no, but yeah, Tate, I mean, it's like, yeah, pretentious is just, whatever. It's not really pretentious, but it's definitely like an upscale. It's like a city based coffee shop. I think it's actually owned by the people that own Panera. And I
Mhm.
think it's technically a chain, but I think it's literally maybe just in Boston.
Hmm.
Maybe. So,
All
um,
right. The more you know.
I don't know that much. Listen, if anyone out there is like, actually, it's not owned by the people that own Panera, or like, hey, I live in bumfuck Tennessee and there's a Tate. It's like, great, cool. Sorry, I was wrong, but I don't know. I don't.
There you go. Uh,
Anyways, that's a Tate rant for some
the
reason.
Tate, right? Yeah, I've never heard of Tate. I don't even like saying it. It feels just kind of douchey.
Yeah, it's definitely the
If
place that these people would be drinking coffee at, though.
Yeah, overly exactly. That and it does work, I guess, for this sort of satirizing this sort of, professional managerial class, sort of liberal, people that are probably, canceling people on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
That
right.
that type of environment is definitely satirized, which is also kind of satirized in Dream Scenario. So. Yeah, and that is an interesting aspect of the movie. We can probably talk more about that in the spoiler section to
Yeah.
talk about the details, but yeah.
Although I mean, Also, I do want to bring up um the speaking of canceling people. Listen,
Mm.
Christopher Burgley, uh, not cool,
Apparent,
dude. Not cool.
if anyone doesn't know, apparently he wrote a in some sort of essay. I don't know. The thing with a lot of his work that I've seen is that a lot of it does blend reality and fiction, and so I don't know if this is like uh nonfiction or fiction, or I have no idea. But apparently there was some essay he had written in like 15 years ago or something about him being maybe 26 or 27 and having a relationship with a 16-year-old, which apparently is the age of consent in Norway, but obviously neither of us condone that if
Yeah.
that is true.
Never good to have to
I guess
say
we have to address it because it's a thing, but yeah.
it's never good to have to say, it's technically legal. It's like that's
Yeah.
never a good thing to have to say.
Right. And I just don't know how true it is because
Yeah.
a lot of his things are kind of I don't know. And he talks about watching Manhattan, and obviously Manhattan is about Woody Allen, notoriously not a chill guy, dating like a 17-year-old, and he's like his character's like 42, and obviously he's a strange fellow, you know. Uh so like it almost feels like it could be it's so uh I don't know. To have the Woody Allen reference and everything in there, it almost feels like it could be not true. I have no idea.
Mm.
If it is true, we don't condone that. So,
Yeah,
but
that
I
yeah,
guess we have
that
to address it.
yeah, I mean, pretty bad. Also, though, here's the other thing that I want to say about it is, I think if you haven't heard much about this, go look up more. There's plenty of people out there that are talking more about it than we are. I don't really, I mean, I'm not really a fan of talking about, grooming children. So I kind of want to groom Breeze. Oh wait, God, I want to breeze right by it. Wow, that's crazy. Um,
Yeah, all
but
right.
but
Well,
but I
this will be
did
our last episode of the show. Ryan has officially been canceled, but it
I
is
the one thing I do want to say about it is just the fact that there's a lot of people out there that are like, tossing out the movie and all this stuff. But I do want to encourage people to don't forget that there are a lot of people that go into making a film. And we can be upset and not happy with a director um and not think that they deserve our money or attention. But there's tons of people, hundreds and hundreds of people that go into making movies. So just keep that in mind too.
yeah, yeah, that's true. And it is fun. It is interesting how it plays into the movie's themes of moral uh, judgment, moral superiority, and all these elements of human nature and how all that plays into things. And it is kind of interesting that that has now bled out of the movie and into real life in a different kind of way.
Yeah,
But obviously, I don't know. I don't want to get too much into it because we're in the non-spoiler section.
yeah.
But the thing also is that there is always, you have to have lines. And in the movie they kind of get into that in interesting ways, I think. But I think obviously that would be over my lines if that is true and for most people. So yeah, that's the
Yeah,
thing. You do have to have you have to have moral standards, but then also I think the movie explores in an interesting way people's double standards, the way that they judge others, the way that they give themselves excuses, things like that. Um, so anyway,
mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I did want to bring that up because obviously there's a lot of people talking about it online. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents about it. Is don't forget
Yeah.
that also a lot of people make movies, go into making a movie, I should say. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and this is definitely I feel like Robert Pattinson and Zendaya are kind of the people at the forefront of this movie. Obviously, they're advertising them. They're two of the biggest stars. This is one of their three movies coming out this year together. They're obviously both in The Odyssey and both in Dune Part 3. I think those are maybe three of my most anticipated movies of the entire year. So pretty big Zendaya and Robert Pattinson year. And I think they're both pretty great in this. I think Zendaya's Uh, really, I think they're both great. All honestly, every performance is really good in the movie. Uh, and certain characters are more likable than others, certainly. And maybe that'll vary depending on people's interpretations, I guess. But certainly there were some characters that I was 100% uh almost 100% on their side, and other characters where I was almost 100% not on their side. But we can get into that more later too.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but I do agree totally. The maybe like my the one thing that I left the movie kind of most impressed by is definitely the two of them and their performances, right? I mean, Zendaya and Rowan Pattinson are just fantastic actors, and they do a really good job here. And I have my feelings about like I said, I kind of felt left the movie kind of being like, yeah, it was good and also not great. But I think the two of them do elevate what is what I did enjoy about the movie a lot. Like
Hmm.
um, the whole core premise of the movie is about the relationship, so it takes a lot to be able to do the range of emotions they do here.
Yeah. And it definitely works. I think it works primarily as a comedy. I feel like it's a comedy first, and uh but both of them definitely ground the characters, especially Zendaya. I think she grounds that character a lot, in like the emotions of it and the reality of it. But I think with the filmmaking, sometimes with the editing and just the situations, there are some very hilarious scenes in the movie. A few in particular. There's a scene with a photographer that's very funny, and there's some very funny moments. And this, I feel like it is really a comedy first. It's like a comedy slash social satire more than a drama, ironically.
Yeah, yeah, that is ironic, right? The drama. Um, also a bold title choice, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of vague, but people like drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else you had about the movie? The performances are pretty great. Also, we should say the side characters too, like
Yeah.
Alana Haim, from the band Haim. I think it's called pronounced Haim or Haim. I don't know, whatever. But she's also in Licorice Pizza and One Battle After Another.
Mhm.
She's really great as Rachel, and then Mamadou Athie plays Mike, and they're sort of their main couple friend. Uh, and they're both really good as their supporting characters. And there are some other supporting performances that are very effective, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah. And I think that's kind of the thing I left the movie being most impressed by. And I think if I was going to recommend the movie to people, it's it's actually not maybe in my opinion for the reveal or anything like that, but really for seeing these two core actors doing their thing because this movie just gives them a lot of space to do their thing and a lot of content to do that with.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the reveals and turns in the plot, I don't know, maybe just the mystery of it all was so it was not mar it was marketed in such a mysterious way that perhaps it had my expectations a little bit high. And then I was a little almost like, hmm, this is sort of a thing that has been blown out of proportion, which is kind of maybe part of the point of the movie, but it wasn't quite as dramatic as certain people were making it out to be, perhaps, which I didn't mind, but yeah. And then there are some other things that happen that we can get into in spoiler talk. But
Yeah.
I did think the movie was overall like very funny and very well executed. Um, and I would definitely recommend it. I think people will enjoy it. You could definitely watch this as like a date movie. Like this would be a good I think it would be a great date movie. Uh, and yeah, I think it's a funny, very well made movie.
Yeah. And I think we're about to be heading into the spoiler section, so I think I'll also just say I think my views like I think I would recommend it if this is what you're like if you're looking to see again like these two actors, right? I think they're so prominent right now. They both do such great work that I think a lot of people want to see it mostly just for them, and I think that's great, and I think you still should. But if you're going into it with like you don't really care about the actors or whatever, and you're just like, hey, this mystery that I saw in the trailer is like I'm like itching for it. I would be like, I wouldn't like maybe rush out to see it, but I would probably still recommend it, maybe. But I'm kind of a little more maybe mixed on it in my opinion. But we'll break more of that down. But I don't know. I mean, also it was cool. It was fun. It was like a little weird. So I would still probably recommend it. I don't know. I clearly am a little bit more mixed on it, but
Hmm.
yeah.
I think it's a good conversation starter, and the movie will like stick with you after you see it. It's not just a disposable like movie that you're just gonna watch and forget about a few days later. I think it is genuinely funny. Like there are a lot of laugh out loud moments, and yeah, but if if you're going for the comedy, the themes, and the really just the characters. I feel like those are all the really strong suits. I
Mm-hmm.
think the plot and the twisty turniness, if you're looking, it's not a thriller or a some movie with these incredible twists that are gonna blow your mind. It's not that kind of a thing at all. So yeah, if you go in with the right expectations as sort of a character-driven comedy and social satire, then I think you'll get the most out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I think part of it for me maybe is that I was kind of hoping that like the reveal would be more dramatic or that like a few things like that right from the trailers. And so that's the only thing I would caution people on is like go into it for the comedy and for the characters rather than that. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Should we give our ratings and then get into spoilers?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool.
What'd you give it, Shane?
I gave it 3.5 stars. Very strong 3.5 stars. Very good movie. Didn't, like I said, maybe I had quite high expectations and it didn't quite get up to that level of like, I don't know that this is going to be one of my favorite movies of the year, but I really enjoyed it and I could definitely see myself rewatching it. And yeah, it was overall very, very good. 3.5.
Nice. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars, but it's a pretty high 3 stars. I was kind of between 3 and 3.5, but I ended up just leaving it at 3. I think, yeah, I'm excited to talk more about kind of some of my
Yeah.
thoughts leading
Yeah,
into it.
this is definitely one that needs the spoiler section.
Yeah, for sure. But I can give like a quick rating recap. As a reminder, though, we are recording this on Sunday the 5th, and it came out on last Thursday, right?
Yeah, basically Friday or Thursday night. Yeah.
So it's only been out for like a few days, but uh, whatever. The recap says it's a 3.5, 3.8, sorry, out of 5 on Letterboxd right now. 77% critic score and 81% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, bringing it to a 7.7 out of 10 average, which is pretty good, but it is the opening, right? It's going to be a little inflated. I don't know. When you watch it, it might be totally different. So,
Maybe, yeah. I feel like that probably makes sense for this movie. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Totally. So
cool.
I'm excited to talk about spoilers. So
Yes.
if y'all are still listening, now's a good time to have either already seen the movie or pause this and
Yes.
go see it.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the movie, get out of here. Scram. This is a good movie. Go out and see it and then come back and listen to our thoughts about the spoilers.
Yeah.
All
You've
right.
got you've got 5 seconds to go. No, I'm just kidding. You could pause this, so we're not doing
Yeah,
10.
exactly. You
But
could just
anyways.
pause it.
So Shane, what's the worst thing you've ever done?
Well, I have never planned a school shooting. I'll tell you that much. That's the thing.
That's the thing.
That's
I
the
was
thing.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Insane.
I guess I watching the movie. It's interesting too because uh, Christopher Borgli is Norwegian, and I feel like this is very much coming from a European perspective about America.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, because gun violence is so common here and not common in Norway. Um, but yeah, like the the reveal, I kind of felt like everyone blew it out of proportion, and I was almost 100% on Zendaya's side, at least in within the context of that conversation. It's very interesting. They each go around talking about bad things that they have done. And Robert Pattinson, it's interesting. He talks about cyberbullying someone potentially to the point of they had to move to a different school around the same age. And he really gets off completely scot-free.
It's
And
blown right by. Yeah.
yes, and then the other woman,
Rachel.
Rachel, uh, locked a mentally handicapped kid in a closet around the same age, and the kid was missing for like 24 hours, and she didn't help him find him at all.
There was a fucking search party.
Yeah,
Like,
search party for this kid. Uh, but she has this righteous indignation against Zendaya for something that she actually didn't do, and just was clearly a troubled and troubled kid who was outcast and bullied and had issues, and ultimately didn't do anything. So yeah, it I thought it was an interesting exploration of that type of moral superiority, sort of righteous indignation and judging other people when obviously who he without he who has not sinned shall throw the first stone. And then no one throws the stone because guess what? We've all done fucked up things to varying degrees. And so like I thought it was kind of an interesting
I
depiction of
mean,
that. Yeah, yeah, never done anything wrong ever.
no, I think the worst. If we're doing
You
the
just
worst
said
things
you
we've
wanted
ever
to
done,
groom the
ah,
movie
shut
or
up.
something.
That's not true. That's not. I did not. God damn it.
Rewind the tape.
Um, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Hey,
God,
that's
what
what
was I even about
happens.
to say?
Don't
God.
be throwing stones in glass
Um,
houses, brother.
no, no. Yeah, it is interesting though that I think the concept here is pretty wild. That this is like this is a kind of like it's not really a school shooting movie, but it is a movie with that as part of its main premise, right? That there was like the
Certainly,
build up
yeah.
to it, right? And
I definitely
it's
didn't expect that.
no, and I think it's a kind of a crazy thing to like put in a movie where people aren't expecting it because I think that can be very emotionally. I think people can have varying ranges of emotional responses to that. Um, which like in the movie, right? I mean, and the three of the people at the table that heard her, right, all had different responses in the immediate moment.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, and so I think it's kind of a crazy, like a very bold premise to just be like, "Yep, welcome to the mystery. It's actually about a school shooting," and like,
Mm.
um, so I think that was definitely surprising. But also, I do agree that it kind of feels very blown up, and I think that the surprise of it doesn't do enough for me to like really be uh totally believing that like there's this much confliction and drama over it. I mean, I think I
Mm.
understand
I
like kind of the perspective a little bit, but I was surprised.
I get that. I think one thing that didn't work as well for me that I think was supposed to be a part of the movie is that the wedding is so close that I
Mm-hmm.
think that height is supposed to heighten the characters' like stress and make the situation like just even more stressful, especially for them as a couple, because this has been sort of thrown a wrench in things at the last minute. And especially with Robert Pattinson's character, what he does toward the end, I feel like the movie didn't quite communicate the like stress of this last like week leading up to the wedding. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like given the actions of the characters, there should be a lot of stress about like this timeline and all this
Yeah.
stuff. And I feel like the movie doesn't quite communicate that like well enough. But I feel like that's part of the reason that they do kind of react like this. Um, and and I think it is also part of human nature that I think the movie is exploring in a very interesting way. But anyway, I can if you have anything to say about the timeline aspect of it.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree that it does not show you the timeline very well because I'm as you know, Shane, and as maybe some people know, I'm in the midst of planning a wedding, and our wedding isn't for like 4 months, and we still have there's a lot of stress involved in this process, and also uh the food tasting thing that and also I just want to say real quick when I'm saying there's a lot of stress, very excited obviously, like it's good stress, right? But anyways,
No, obvious. No,
yeah.
planning a wedding sounds stressful and
Yeah,
horrible, to be honest. The
right.
expectations of society on a wedding has I feel like created a monster, this monstrous industry where people, instead of having a day to celebrate themselves, they have to plan all this shit and spend tens of thousands of dollars. And it sounds completely fucking terrible to me. So I think the wedding industry, weddings are supposed to be a sacred, beautiful thing, and it's been turned into this horrific capitalistic thing, and you have to show off to other people, and it's all that bullshit. So anyway, so you're
Yeah,
not saying anything wrong by saying it's stressful.
right.
That
Thank
is
you. I
all.
appreciate that.
No, that's not. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure, and also anyone out there that's either in that process or has gone through that process, like you get it, right? And even people that aren't, like you were saying, like it. I think there's a clear understanding that that is a stressful moment. Um, and also, I think the crazy thing to me, they did, this whole reveal. It's at like they're going around drinking, but it's at their food tasting for their venue,
Yeah.
which happens. We've already done ours, right? And the expectation is to do it at
It
least like 3 months out because you need to like put in the orders, and also your guests have to
at,
RSVP the
at
food that
one
they want.
point they do say like all right, this has to be the final decision. You can't change it again. So
Yeah,
clearly they've like already like been indecisive about it or something. And so yeah, but it is definitely like they're cramming everything in at the last minute.
yeah, but it kind of threw me off because I actually was thinking that there was still plenty of time for the wedding though, because I
Mm.
was like, oh, they're doing the food tasting. They've got like months before their wedding probably and stuff. And then kind of I'm trying to think of when I realized it, but it was pretty late when I realized like, oh crap, this is like next week, like
Yeah.
yeah, that sucks. Like because
Yeah.
I think for a lot of the movie I was feeling like yeah, there's like a lot of time. Like I know it's still stressful and everything, but like I I don't know if I understood exactly like why it was such a big thing. Um like and like the idea of like, at one point she asked like are something along the lines of like are you regretting or are you not do you not want to get married anymore? Something like that, right? And he kind of fumbles the question a lot, which not a good move. But also like I was like, wow, like yeah, they're like a week out, and this guy's like I don't know, like I was very shocked. I think just from the timeline and everything, it just didn't seem like it added up for the most part, and
Right.
I think that kind of
It,
shocked me when we got to the wedding too, because I was like, oh
mm.
shit, here we are.
Yeah, I get that. I think that is like one of the weaker parts of the movie, but I think it is interesting the way like it explores parts of like the way people think of other people and themselves as morally superior,
Mm-hmm.
in the
Totally.
way that he learns this about her and now it's completely shit. He thinks basically she was a good person. I'm using air quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he knows this about her, now he thinks, well, she must be a quote unquote bad person. And so this is completely because that's I think how a lot of people view things. They think, well, I'm good,
Mm-hmm.
which is obviously not true. No one is really actually good. It's all shades of gray. But
Yeah.
like realistically, that's what I think.
You know me. I mean, come on. I'm like,
All right, sure, buddy. But like people think that, oh, I would never do XYZ, whatever it is. I would
right.
never. But it's like realistically, anyone in the wrong circumstances and in the wrong situations could do anything. Anyone could, like, murderers are human beings, just like
Yeah.
we are. And obviously they've done a horrible thing. And obviously, I'm not saying murder is acceptable. Obviously, you
Oh,
should go to
clip it.
jail. You should
Clip it.
you can clip that. Murder is not acceptable. You can clip that.
No, you
Uh,
said you said I'm not saying murder is acceptable. I'm gonna clip the murder is acceptable part.
all
Ah,
right,
now I
sure.
did it. Oh no.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, like but people view themselves as better than anyone who has
Yeah.
done or thought about doing something horrible like this. But the reality is, like, if you're in the wrong, like I said, if you're in the wrong scenario, in the wrong situation, anyone could fall down that wrong path, and we're more similar to people who've done horrible things than I think we like to think. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so I think he kind of has to confront that. And well, I don't know if he has to confront it, but I feel like that's what he's dealing with, is that now he sees her as this bad person. And then I think it's really uh brilliantly like shown in the character of Rachel, this person who has a completely overblown reaction, and this because it affects her personally because her cousin was involved in a shooting. So because it affects her personally, now she condemns the Zendaya character, whereas she has done other things that were are worse even. But she gives herself this moral high ground and gives herself a pass for the things she's done while judging everyone else very harshly for things that they only contemplated, you know. Um,
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting that in that reveal moment, I'm actually curious your thoughts on this because, in my opinion, it seemed like Mike and, excuse me, Charlie both were responding kind of like neutral negative, right? Like, not like,
they kind of
not,
both think it's a joke at first, I feel like.
yeah, but also even when like they're kind of coming to the realization, I feel like they're not like, oh my God, you are Satan. You know, they're kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, what like what the hell, like that's weird, that's bad, that's okay, like they're kind of like, I think like they're definitely grappling with it, but then Rachel responds so overtly negatively that it actually uh skews their responses. That's what it seemed like to me, where like
Oh, interesting.
now Robert Pattinson, Charlie or whatever, is like, once she's responded this way, now Charlie's actually like,
Mm,
are you serious? Are you serious? Like, what the fuck? Like this, what? And is like
mm,
really, really on top of it. But before, and again, like you can argue, like, yeah, maybe he was just like thinking that she was joking and like still like not really understanding. But like, I think also there is that aspect of like, when somebody tells you that this thing is morally superior, then you're like,
mm.
oh, yeah, totally. Like, I have to now advocate for that too.
Now, if you're not outraged, you are a bad person, or you are,
Right.
yes, yeah, you're
Right.
not outraged enough.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mm,
like, I think this happens all the time, right? Like people out there starting to like, be mad about somebody online, and then like not, like people that aren't actually, that people are that are still supporting that person, or that they think are still supporting that person, they get mad at them because they're like, you are not doing the right thing by agreeing with me, and like,
right.
so I think in a way Robert Pattinson and or Charlie and Mike are both kind of skewed maybe in their perspective, and even in their talking later on, there's kind of this um like I feel like they're kind of like, they're still very mixed on it. Like I think they still don't really fully know what they're thinking on the thing. But then anytime that Rachel's around it, it's like, when they're in the office later on, then it's like he has a really hard time defending her because Rachel's just so morally superior and like very confrontational about it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's it. I didn't think about that aspect of it, but yeah, that's a good point about the way that that has that ripple effect of like righteous indignation and judgment on people. And another aspect of the movie that I loved was the DJ for the wedding, who Robert
Mm.
Pattinson and Zendaya find potentially potentially, we're not sure, smoking like heroin or something in like the street. And it seems like it's her. It seems like it's heroin. They don't really know for sure. But
It's Boston.
then,
It probably was.
yeah, if you're a DJ in Boston, you're probably smoking heroin on your free time. But it's interesting that Zendaya is almost the victim of this moral superiority and this judgment, and then she goes on to do the same thing to someone else, to where apparently this is so bad that she can't DJ the wedding, even though this has ultimately nothing to do with being a DJ for a wedding. But oh, if you do drugs, now you're considered a bad person. You're in the bad category, and I can't have you at the wedding anymore.
Yeah.
And the way that this, and so I like the way that it doesn't sort of let the Zendaya character just be this like victim in the movie, and that she actually also perpetuates this, because we are in some ways we're all a part of this. This is just part of human nature. And then I thought it was very hilarious that she seems to be a good DJ and there's like a kind of a cool song and you know what I mean? She seems like she'd be a good DJ for a wedding. And then they fire her and at the last minute they have to get this fool who's who's who who is a very funny character in a very small part, but he kind of fucks things up and is clearly a worse DJ than this girl who may have been doing drugs on her free time and they fired her for it. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that is it is an interesting piece, and it I think it also gets into like I think there it is interesting because there's so many different aspects of this same theme in the movie because there's also the piece where it's um uh like what how do you actually like once you are being crucified by this moral justification or whatever, like how does somebody actually get out of that? Like um at one point when they're in that office and Charlie is trying to defend Emma's, thing, um uh he brings up the fact, I think it was then, but whatever. At some point he brings up the fact that like she ended up, oh no, this was actually, sorry, this was during the wedding, when the dad brings up that she became like an anti-gun advocate, right? And we had learned
yeah,
this a little bit earlier, but Rachel did not. And Rachel starts laughing, and it's like Emma like in theory, even if you think that Emma was like the most terrible person in the world for planning this thing, has now done like a full 360, right? And it's like, wait, no, 180. 360 would be back where you
yeah,
started. That's not good.
yeah.
But does like a full 180 and is like, now advocating against the guns and like literally getting rid of her dad's rifle and all these things. And there's no way to get out of that hole though, because to Rachel, you're already the bad person.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And even though it seemed like a genuine change of heart, and it's interesting like that she gets rid of the gun and the dad thinks it's for these reasons, but
Yeah.
really it's for this personal reason that she was but moving on from it and changing. And ultimately there's nothing else you can ask of anyone. And yeah, but it you could almost imagine some other movie uh where where Zendaya maybe has like a special needs brother who's bullied, and then Rachel says her worst thing, and now Zendaya says, "Oh my gosh, you're evil. I mean, I'm gonna do everything," and she tries to ruin her life for this bad thing that she's done in the past. And the way that anyone could be a target of this, if they're put under a microscope for any reason, it could be like a good reason, or it could be not a good reason, but there will be like that attack, regardless, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it doesn't matter if that that bad deed or whatever, perceived bad deed, does not actually impact you, right? Like with the DJ, or if you've changed from it, like with um uh the it becoming an anti-gun advocate and all that stuff, right? Or whatever. Like it doesn't matter if you're on that cross, you're now dying on that cross, right? Like in
Mhm.
this analogy.
Yeah,
um
once you've been like labeled in this way and like targeted in this way, it's like that's what you are from
right.
now on.
And so I think it's interesting that this movie really does try to draw a big through line between all these like disparate situations and ideas of the same topic, and I think it does pretty good at that. It does pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the themes of the movie are some of the best aspects of it. I guess we should get into like the Robert Pattinson trying to cheat on her aspect of the movie.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. This from here till like the wedding part, I I really didn't like. Um, I think it felt so cliche at this point, where it's like,
Mm.
okay, now I know exactly what's going to happen during the wedding and all this stuff. And but anyways, yeah, we can get into it first, and then but that's kind of
Yeah.
like my immediate thoughts here.
Yeah, it didn't feel really believable to me,
Yeah,
this scene, and it felt very out of the blue, and just the way it was executed didn't feel believable to me. And I think the fact that the movie doesn't quite communicate like the stress of the situation, like maybe if that was better communicated, then it would have the scene would have made more sense potentially. I don't know. But yeah, it kind of it felt a little bit contrived and didn't seem to really make much sense as a character decision, especially with him being he's like distraught, and then it's a kind of strange scene.
Yeah, it is a very strange scene, and the way that also just before that, well, the beginning of that scene when he is just spilling to his coworker, and he's asking this really strange question, and I feel like the coworker's responses were really just weird. Like I don't know. I guess in a way, actually, she just wasn't being very judgmental, which maybe is good. But like, also, I was like, I don't. I feel like it was a very unbelievable response.
In what way?
Like,
I felt like that part was fine.
oh, you did? I feel
Yeah.
like because he's asking these questions that feel very intentionally pointed, and she's not like, dude, uh, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Like she's just
Hmm.
like, uh, I guess like she's just playing the role that he wants her to play in the moment of like answer these questions, and she does that. But like, if somebody was like asking me all those questions in the break room, I'd be like,
You would ask,
what the
why are you asking that?
yeah, like what are you okay? Like what's
I
going on?
think I see what you're saying, but I think also that could be you knowing the full context of why he's asking the
Mm.
questions, but she doesn't know that. Like her character doesn't know that, so she's just like, "Oh, this guy's just got some weird hypotheticals or like what's going on?" So I think
I
that
guess
could
that's
be,
interesting.
yeah.
I just feel like any like I hear a hypothetical like that, and I'm like, there's where did you get this hypothetical from? Like
Mm.
what? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but I think that could be
Yeah,
maybe you projecting onto the character to some degree because you know so much more information than she knows.
that
Like
is valid.
like we
Yeah,
don't really know their relationship. Like they might not even really talk that much and she might just be like, "Oh, okay, I don't know." And just like we don't even know how
that
much they really know each other that well, you know.
that'd be even weirder if a coworker I really didn't know was like, hey, has your partner ever thought about not thought about what would you do if I don't know, like say your partner was like thinking about scooting about school. They didn't do it, but they thought about it. Thoughts?
Yeah.
I'd be like, bro, what? Like, chill. Also,
Yeah. I
you need to break this down with someone, but not me. Like, I'm not. I don't know. I was shocked. I think I was like, this feels. If this happened to me in the break room, I feel like I'd be reacting very differently. But I see what you're saying
mm,
too. I do have a lot more information than the character did, but I don't know. It felt
yeah.
weird to me.
I
But
didn't really mind that scene in that way, but it was really the scene of them sort of almost having sex. I did think it was kind of interesting that she's clearly like down, and
yeah,
then at the end she's like she basically tells her boyfriend because obviously she's gonna change the story a bit that he's like sexually harassed her or something like, and then that's what gets him headbutted, which is funny. Uh and yeah, ultimately I did kind of feel like the headbutt was sort of a um almost a deserved thing. Like it almost reset things where it's like, well, he got headbutted, he looks like a fucking idiot now. He ruined his day, and now they can kind of reset because I felt like he was, frankly, for most of the movie. And this is also, I think, because the stress of the situation was not fully emphasized. It felt like he was like overreacting and kind of being a little over dramatic about a lot of it. So I felt like a lot of the movie was him being like unable to handle things on his own and like causing a lot of his own problems. And so when he got headbutted, I was like, okay, well, you kind of deserve that. And now you can. And then I liked the ending scene. I thought the ending scene was very well executed in this. It was a very sweet ending. I liked it.
yeah, I did think the ending was cute, but I also think so. Again, like from the point where he almost cheats on her in the office
Hmm.
to through the wedding, like I feel like if you've seen a movie before, you probably know all the beats that are about to happen. Like he's doing the whole leading up to the speech thing. He has all these problems. He's like trying to come up with it. We hear him talking through it, so he's gonna mess it up. The DJ is gonna mess up because they swapped out the DJ and like this guy's a fucking idiot. That the almost cheating on her thing is gonna come in right at the wrong time in the middle of the wedding. um, you know that Rachel is gonna. Actually, Rachel did not make as big of a fuss in the moment as I thought she was going to. But still, you know that like I feel like all these things are gonna happen. That the wedding's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be ruined. All this stuff. They're gonna have the what do they call it? The like the bottom of the they've hit rock bottom. And then there's gonna be a slightly cute ending scene, and that's pretty much what happened. And I was like, cool.
I guess so. I kind of expected almost more of a like The Graduate type of an ending of this
Oh,
almost like a simmering things simmering under the surface, and that there are clearly these problems, but it maybe doesn't blow up, but you're like, "Oh, are these like they're not gonna this is not gonna work out. Are these what have these people gotten into?" So I was
hmm,
actually kind of slightly expecting a different direction than where it went. But yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I guess I interesting. I feel like the way it went just felt very cliche. It kind of felt like the standard uh formula at that point. But I don't know. I guess maybe
I get that. Everything
yeah.
comes to head. Like all these various like plot threads all come together at the wedding at the end. It does make sense.
Yeah. And so I feel like I feel like the wedding is obviously supposed to be the climax. And I was kind of just sitting there kind of like, all right, yeah, And then when she's like, I'm gonna go get her and see if she can tell me who told me this thing, it's like, yeah, she's about to spill the beans on the uh almost cheating thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
I
guess
was yeah,
I wasn't worried about like anything being surprising. I think I was just enjoying the awkward comedy and the a lot of the comedy comes from like awkward social situations, which is
totally.
usually a thing that I find enjoyable. Um, so yeah, but I get you. It's not the most there's no like final twist at the wedding that like completely, sends it
Yeah.
in a new direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I was just also maybe hoping that it wouldn't feel as formulaic. But I don't know. Formulas are a thing because they work. So I guess that's true.
I guess so. One way that it's a little different is I think I enjoyed the fact that there's this confrontation with with Misha's boyfriend or whatever, and then they cut away and you just see Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson with the bloody, face and bloody nose and bruised face, and he's just covered in his own blood,
I did
and
like
then
that. That was
you
cool. Yeah.
and then you kind of are left to question what happened, and then you see that he got headbutted, which was unexpected. I thought he was going to get punched, so there you go. But, but the movie does have some interesting editing throughout, especially toward
Yeah.
the beginning, I think, where there's like these flashback sequences of with Zendaya's character as a kid, and also these dream sequences. There's the dream the dream sequence of Robert Pattinson's character imagining Zendaya as her 15-year-old school shooter self. And then there's like imagery of women with guns and stuff like that involved. So there is some like interesting editing and some and I think all of that is was very well done. But I think that happens a lot more in the first half.
Yeah. I agree. I think um definitely some good editing. And also just with that final that cut that you were talking about with the headbutt, I also liked that quite a lot. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Um
And a
I
lot.
was wondering too if they were gonna reveal what happened because I was like sometimes
Mm,
you
yeah.
just leave it, and you're like something happened.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think the way they did it worked
yeah,
in sort of changing your expectations and then having it be a little bit of a shock. Um, and also, there's a lot of throwing up in this movie.
yeah, that's
Multiple
true.
times, characters are just throwing up for comedic
Yeah.
effect, which works. I like it.
All right.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
it. Why not?
yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah, I'm glad you liked that. Uh, I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, it's something notable that
Yeah.
multiple people are throwing up in the movie. Um,
Yeah. No, I do. Yeah. I guess that was cool. I don't know if I
it was very cool. Yeah, very cool.
I noticed it, but I don't know if I was like um as taken aback maybe.
I wasn't taken aback, but it was more often than you'd see in most movies.
Yeah,
If there is an over under from grow up in movies, this movie definitely hits the over.
that's
Because
true.
it's realistically, the line's probably 0.5 to 1.5. And this movie, I think there's at least two or three. So we're definitely hitting the over.
Yeah, I would definitely on just give me a like if you're gonna say, hey, I'm gonna put on a random movie, do you think there's gonna be throw up? I would say no. So yeah,
Exactly.
I would have been wrong multiple times here.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Um, but then, and I will say the final scene, as much as I did think I was like, yeah, I know what's gonna happen. And I didn't love that I felt like it was a little formulaic, but I did also think that just the two of them in that diner, they did that so well, you know. So whatever, yeah, whatever. If it was if I thought it was predictable or formulaic, it also worked. Like they did it well, which was awesome. And I think that might be like maybe my favorite scene just with the two of them. Like the interactions there were just really good and like callbacks obviously to earlier in the movie obviously, but yeah, so I think that one, I think again, even though I wasn't in love that that's where it was going, I did think it pulled it off really well there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And maybe part of the reason that I do think it's a good date movie is that there is almost like a rom-com
Yeah,
structure to the movie. It's just done in a weird, unique way, but there's sort of a skeleton of a rom-com here. And rom-coms are not my favorite genre at all. I generally find it not interesting. I think this movie, the worst part of a rom-com is usually the second half of the second act when they have to break up, and there's usually a contrived reason. Usually, it's about miscommunication, and they have to break up for some reason, and then they're gonna come back together in the end, and all this stuff. And I feel like this movie really avoids that element of like a rom-com structure, which is always the most annoying and uh contrived part of the movies. This movie obviously has a pretty good justification for the conflict, and I think the way it's done is a lot more interesting than maybe like, there's some whatever, a rom-com. It's like, oh, she saw you hug your coworker and now she thinks you're cheating and now you break up and oh no, and then
I saw that one.
you're both sad for 15 minutes and then you have to get back together or something like that. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that one's called The Hug with the Coworker.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
classic. Like really
Yeah,
a staple of the rom-com genre.
I will say it's interesting because I think I just have a very different opinion maybe on that piece because I think that's kind of maybe what I was feeling at the end, where I was like, yeah, this, you know, because I did also make that connection of it kind of feeling like a rom com there. And like, I like the justifications were there and stuff, but I think still it just feeling so like clean in a way and also like, you know,
Mm.
formulaic and stuff was kind of the stuff that I didn't like so much at the end.
I get that, and the Robert Pattinson almost or cheating slash almost cheating
Yeah.
with the coworker was kind of the most contrived part of the movie. So I definitely understand that not working
Yeah.
as well. And I
Totally.
think that
Actually, if you got rid of the school shooting piece, and the
oh
rest of this
well,
movie, like it would actually just be like, yeah, that can like
but
he
then
almost cheats. Like I know that that's a really bad way to look at it, but like that piece right there where he almost cheats and then that comes up in the wedding could totally still just happen in like that's probably a rom-com right there, you know?
yeah, yeah, it's just that then there's no conflict for the first half of the movie.
Right.
So you'd
It'd
have
be a
to
bad movie, you
figure
know?
that out. Yeah. No, I get what you mean. That is definitely the least interesting aspect of the movie for sure.
Yeah.
I think,
Um
yeah,
mhm.
yeah, I agree that that was the weakest part for me, and I guess it just didn't quite sully the experience for me, maybe quite as much as it did for you, just because I really enjoyed most of the movie. So, but yeah, that was definitely the weakest part.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I mean, I feel like, you know, this is the you know, leaving the movie with that. And I feel like I was leaving and I was like, you know, 3 or 3.5. And I think you know, I again, it's not like I hated the movie or anything, right? I think it was a good movie. I think it's probably worth uh people watching. Um, but yeah, I feel like just with that and then with feeling like the reveal was maybe overdone over dramatic or over dramatized. And I know that's kind of part, it goes into the themes a little bit with that, but like I feel like enough stuff kind of piled up for me where when I was leaving and I was kind of between 3 and 3.5, I was like, yeah, I think I'll probably just give it the 3.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I get that. I get that. But yeah, all right, cool.
yeah, I don't know if do you have anything else you think you want to say about the movie before we do have while Shane thinks, I'll say we do have our reveals. So, if
Yes,
anyone's
for next
keeping up
episode.
with our full episodes, we've got our reveals coming
Nah,
up in a minute.
no, I think it's kind of an interesting exploration of like it's kind of about cancel culture, which is kind of what Dream Scenario was also about. And yeah, it's interesting that cancel culture has also come for the director. And
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that, I guess. But
Life imitating art, I suppose.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I really like the movie. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to talk about it. But yeah, this is my well, I guess Christopher Borgli also made a movie called Drib, which is sort of a fake mockumentary type of a thing. I did like this more than that, but this was definitely I prefer Dream Scenario and Sick of Myself, which I think are both absolutely fantastic. And if anyone hasn't seen them, I would say definitely worth checking out. For if you like the vibe of this movie, I think those are sort of, in my opinion, more successful versions, and maybe a little bit more. I don't know. I guess the school shooting aspect is transgressive, but Sick of Myself definitely is a little bit more transgressive and a little more gross. But anyway, love both those movies. So this was still a good one.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that wraps up our thoughts on the
Yeah,
drama. So, time to talk about real quickly,
yeah,
Mads Mikkelsen, which is our next full episode. So, um,
yeah. Next week's
yeah,
episode, our topic is Mads Mikkelsen, one of my favorite actors. Uh, and yeah, I mean, I guess Ryan, we're each going to pick a movie. If anyone doesn't know what the show is, this was a half episode. Our full episodes, we have a topic and we each pick a movie. Ryan, what's your pick for Mads Mikkelsen?
yeah. So I am picking At Eternity's Gate, which is
Oh,
the kind of, I guess it's a Van Gogh. It's a movie kind of about Van Gogh. And Mads Mikkelsen is not Van Gogh. That's Willem Dafoe. Mads Mikkelsen seems to be like fourth listed or something. He's just the priest. And I've never seen this. I might be picking one that doesn't have a lot of Mads Mikkelsen in it. I don't know,
yeah.
but it seems cool. It's on Canopy. So as we say all the time around here, if you have a public library card, get Canopy. It's free with your public library card as long as your library supports it. And if you don't have a public library card, fix yourself and get one.
Yes, go to your public library, support them, and it's also available on Hoopla, which is basically the same as Canopy. It's the same thing. Just some libraries probably just do one or the other, but or some do both. So yeah, cool. At Eternity's Gate. I've also not seen this movie. It seems like mainly a Willem Dafoe thing because he's playing uh, Van Gogh, obviously. But Willem Dafoe is my most watched actor on Letterboxd, so there you go. I'll get another Willem Dafoe
Yeah.
movie in the you know down.
I kind of felt like I'm like, maybe I'm cheating a little bit here, but I'm also like, you know what though? I haven't seen this and it seems pretty cool. And you know what? Blissful ignorance. Maybe there's a lot of Mads Mikkelsen. The priest could be a big character.
We'll see. We'll see if there could be only one scene of Mads, and there could be he could be a big part of the movie. We shall see. So that leaves me with a bunch of options. Um, uh, Obviously, Casino Royale. He's great as the villain. The Hunt is a great movie. Uh, Fantastic movie. Another Round is another good movie. Uh, I recently watched Bleeder. Also a
Oh.
good movie. Mads Mikkelsen, young Mads Mikkelsen, plays a loner who works at a video store and loves movies and doesn't know how to interact with women. I can't relate with that character at all. Good movie, but I'm not picking any of those. I just had to go with a movie that I love. I think is super underrated actually. Uh, it's called Riders of Justice. This is a Danish movie directed by Anders Thomas Jensen. It's sort of Mads Mikkelsen does Taken, but it's sort of also a deconstruction of the of revenge and masculinity and all these types of themes. I love this movie. I'll be glad to check it out. And yeah, it just also makes sense for the show. It seems like usually Ryan picks something he has not seen, and we just it's a roll of the dice. And then I usually pick a movie that I really love, and I'm like, all right, I know this one's good. I'm gonna pick this one.
That does
Um,
happen a lot. Yeah. On the
yeah, it
times when
does.
we've done like things that we both picked one we haven't seen, we've had a couple of times where that has not worked out.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out. So at least I have like we got one locked in where I'm like, all right, this movie's pretty awesome.
Now, what's this
Um,
called again? Sorry, I'm trying to look it up real quick and remind me.
Riders of Justice. It's also available on Canopy and Hoopla. Yeah, I cannot pronounce the Danish version of this title. It's like Refter Digadens Reitery or something. I have no idea.
Nice. That
Uh,
is probably not close at all, but
no, definitely not close at all. But yeah, Riders of Justice, directed by Anders Thomas Jensen. Yeah, I think that this movie is fantastic. I have the Blu-ray, so I'll be watching it on Blu-ray.
nice. Awesome.
Yeah, I was my other option that I was thinking of picking was The Promised Land, which looks really cool. I haven't seen it, and so I kind of just didn't want to pick. It's more of a roll of the dice, and I wanted to go for the safer bet. But I'll probably watch that over the next week anyway, and just see how it is.
Nice. Well, this will be cool. I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
yeah, Mads, what a guy! What a guy! Just a great actor. Love him. So yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah. So subscribe on YouTube or on the wherever you listen to podcasts, wherever you're listening to this right now. And stay tuned. We got some cool movies coming up next week for Mads Mikkelsen week, and then I think we've got some fun stuff. I think our next half episode we might be doing a little bit of a fun new idea of doing a both of our birthdays are in the month of April. And so we're going to do a little bit of a birthday movie swap where we each pick a movie that the other one has not seen, and we will each watch whatever movie the other one picks. Sort of a movie gift giving. And then we'll talk about those movies on our episode 2 weeks from now. So that'll
Yeah,
be
that'll
fun.
be cool. So, do you think we should reveal those next episode?
Well, yes, not this episode because I don't know what I'm picking
No, no,
yet.
no, not this episode. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm locked in, but I'm still technically between two things, but I think I'm locked in. But
All right.
maybe we can reveal those at the end of our next episode when we're talking about what we're doing next.
Sure. That sounds good. I've also got a couple options, so we'll see
Nice.
what I end up going with.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
fun.
cool. Yeah, that'll be a fun idea for an episode, I think. So yeah. All right, cool. Well, yeah, like I said, follow us on Letterboxd, YouTube, all the podcast apps. Give us if you're on a podcast app, give us like 5 stars or something down. You
Yeah,
probably just
yeah.
have to scroll down a little bit and it's right there. Give us a like on YouTube or whatever. Comment down below your favorite Mads Mikkelsen movie or what you thought of the drama or whatever. So yeah, don't forget to mind your movies.